Alright, Billsmafia, sorry this video is a little bit dark. I'm in my car and that game was crazy. I have almost no words except wow. Just wow. I think everybody saw the stat that was the last time the Bills I would have never guessed this because I'm thinking about, the comeback in 93. But the last time the Bills were down 15 in the fourth quarter and won the game was literally in 1967, which literally, by the way, was before I was born. It was 2 years before I was born. My parents weren't even married yet. My parents got married in 1968. That's how long it's been. Yes, I'm that old. 1967. Derrick Henry never fumbles. He had a streak at one point last season where he had 500 touches without a fumble. That guy doesn't fumble. I've watched him in Tennessee. He doesn't fumble. He was running all over the bill. Okay. I'm going to say this because maybe I'm going to put a little damper on the parade. But that defensive performance was sad in the first 3 quarters of that game. It was sad. I don't know how else to put it, but the Bills are going to have problems if that's how they're going to play the run. They play the Jets next week. I watched a lot of that Jets game today, and Justin Fields surprised me. I was really surprised at Justin Fields. And the way they played Lamar Jackson, for whatever reason, whoever the defensive end was on whatever side, never held their ground. Against Lamar, you have to hold your ground if you're the defensive end. Let your defensive tackles and middle linebackers take the inside. You hold the end. For whatever reason, they kept pinching in, and Lamar would just run around them. And then, can we talk about the 2-point conversion attempts? You're down 14 points and you score a touchdown. Why on God's green earth would you go for 2 in the beginning of the third quarter? Why? I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, there's a lot of construction going on here. That's why you're seeing the lights. Oh, exit is closed. Okay. Well, so I gotta go around it. Anyway, sorry, I'm driving home from watching the game, and the way I normally go home is not open. So this is gonna take me the long way around. Take the long way home. But anyway, yeah, it's just wild that Sean McDermott and I said at the time, why would you do that at that point? Because if you don't make it, you wind up chasing points, and that's what the Bills were doing. They were chasing points, and they almost lost it. If it hadn't been for the fact that the Ravens kicker missed that extra point, they would have wound up going into overtime. Or maybe not. They probably would have gone for the touchdown. But it's just the fact that, you have to really think about who you're playing. At the time, the Bills weren't stopping the Ravens. Why would you put yourself in a position where you might be chasing points? You don't want to do that. I guess the thinking was probably, we're not stopping them. We need to get ahead of the game. Well, you wound up behind the game and you almost lost because of it. if it weren't for something happening that never happens, and that's Derrick Henry fumbling. And sorry if I had my AC on, but it's just crazy how this game wound up going, and I got to give credit to the Bills for never giving up. That never say die attitude will get you a long way during the season, because there are going to be games like this, and the Bills had a game like that last year where they didn't win it in Los Angeles, but it was the same type of game in terms of high scoring. You couldn't stop them, they couldn't stop you, kind of thing. This time they won it. Keon Coleman, I can't say enough about that dude. When Deion Dawkins said that Keon Coleman was a different guy this year, he wasn't joking. And by the way, on that 2-point conversion, that should have been pass interference. Keon Coleman got mugged. Khalil Shakir got mugged on another throw earlier, I think it was in the fourth quarter, or the third quarter rather, on a third down. But they overcame those things. You know, they overcame the defensive lapses. And that's really encouraging. And I was kind of discouraged a little bit because I thought that the game was going to wind up being a blowout. And I didn't think that a game between what I believe are the two best teams in the conference, I don't think a game between those two teams should ever be a blowout. It should always, this should be the game, this should be the way the game goes. Back and forth, and, you know, crazy things happening, and, you know, basically, like somebody said, the game of the year. Hopefully the Bills can clean up their, you know, defensive issues, and maybe some of their blocking issues, because James Cook didn't have a good game running the ball until maybe later. But they've got to shore some of that stuff up. Hopefully they will. But sometimes when you have, it's a good sign when you have stuff that you're doing wrong and you still wind up winning. When you can do that, that is a good sign, and it bodes well for what's to come. As always, go Bills.